Shalom Aleichem.
Alaikum shalom.
That goes to everyone. Once again, I say Shalom Aleichem.
Alaikum shalom.
Alaikum shalom.
That's what I like to hear, not alone. Which is peace be unto you. Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem shalom. Peace be unto you. Que la paz suave-vous. La paz sea con vosotros. That I'm addressing to all of my people of Israel that are associated with those 4 different languages today. That includes all 12 tribes of Hebrew Israelites, the children of Yod Wafeh, that makes up the entire nation of Yod Wafeh, of which Shalom Aleichem, and that is peace be unto ye in Hebrew, is, of course, the native language of all Hebrew Israelites, of which 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel are now still speaking Hebrew today, over in the Middle East. And they are dwelling in Cognito, in a place that's called Syria, in Palestine, and other territories of the Middle East. Nevertheless, they're still dwelling and speaking Hebrew, 10 tribes. However, 2 of the 12 tribes, the other 2 tribes, which is the 4th and 3rd tribes, were taken captive by mankind that began during the 16th century, even as far as to the 19th century, taken by the beasts of this planet that walks on their own 2 legs, just like the digitigrades of the mankind, a kind of a man, the men that they are, mankind, digitigrade species of humanoids that were created and made. Can be read in the book of the King James Version of the Bible's book called Genesis, although we know it's Genesis, in chapter 1, and verses 27, 28, so forth and so on. These are the digitigrades of the kind of men that they are and are still residing in the lands of Europe, the nations of Europe. Like, for example, Ing, E-N-G, Ing land, as well as France, Italy, and Spain, as a few of my people that are in Germany, believe it or not. Did you know that? A few of my people are in Germany, Judah, Germany, that were taken by the digitigrades of many germs. See, Germany. The digitigrades of many germs. Gesundheit. So I say Gesundheit to my people that are dwelling in Germany. Gesundheit, of course, means to wish good health and well wishes to all of ye, especially after you sneeze. So that's a habit that the Germans picked up. Gesundheit. Praise the Lord. Nevertheless, they were taken captive, Judah. And that especially includes my people of Judah that were taken captive by those digitigrade beasts of Great Britain that was placed in bondage by those very same men of Ing, E-N-G. That means round eyes. I don't know if you studied that. I told you a few weeks ago to study Ing, E-N-G. If you did, then you would discover that Ing, E-N-G, means round eyes. So it's the land of round eyes, the digitigrade species of mankind They got the title as a result of their eyes being round, like the Geico. The Geico. Lizard. You see the Geico in the commercials, Geico. Look at the Geico lizard. Look at the eyes of the Geico lizard, and you'll see that the eyes are round. And they're most popular in England, in Great Britain. That's why the land was called England. And the people, the beast that walks on two legs, are just like the Geico lizard. Keep in mind that the Geico lizard is a species of the reptile that has legs opposed to just the belly of Halel, Lucifer, the serpent. Praise the warfare. Just as the serpent that they are. I am testifying to you right now of the A-L-L-A-Y, beast of A. Write it down, A-L-L-A-Y, study it. The ally, beast of A, E-N-G. It also means to put fear, doubt, suspicion, anger, and madness in their victims. You want to know why they're called England, the men of England? I repeat, all those slave masters that captured my people of Judah that began in the 16th century, placed them on slave ships that was headed by one Sir John Hawkins, who greeted my elders with shalom, peace. The digitigrade species of the Geico with the round eyes. He was deemed as one of the ally that put fear in my people of Judah and doubt, suspicion, anger, and madness of the victims of my people. So they adopted the name England, the mankind of England that destroys the rest and calm and the quiet. The men of E-N-G, that means that they are also quick. Quick. When you say lizards are quick. And can catch their prey by a sudden attack, just as they did when they captured my people in the east and in the west. The west coast of Africa near Egypt, east in Egypt. And they could move quick. And to move and or proceed fast, especially to and from something like the jungle. Here's your reference for those who think I'm making this up. Reference dictionary.com of your computer software online. So I'll help you a little bit tonight to study the word ing, E-N-G, and you can use dictionary.com on your computer. Computer software, you'll find that definition and those meanings. So I encourage you to look this truth up for yourself and see that I speak the truth. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
I would like for you to see for yourself that I'm testifying to men that had taken my people of Yehudah to a strange land other than their own in bondage, and to still and treating them evil after 400 years, as it was promised by their God, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, that they would be treated such a way. But did you know why God said that? So your God, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, knew that the men of Eng would treat them evil for 400 years. Isn't that what it says? Someone read that, please. Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. Let's set the record straight tonight. Let's continue to reveal and disclose and loose the seals of the book with the understanding and the comprehension, with wisdom, right?
Yes.
And knowledge. Read that, please. Genesis chapter 15, verse 13. That says what?
And he said unto Abram,
nor of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
Praise the Lord. Now turn to the book called the Acts in the New Testament. Read chapter 7, verse 6. That's the foundation that you just read of the old. Now get the treatment and who was talking and speaking to Abram in the Old Testament in the book called the Acts chapter 7, verse 6.
And I quote, and Yodewave spake on this wise,
that what?
That his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years.
Wow. So it's there. Entreat them evil 400 years. Now, as you follow instructions and obey the commandment that I've given you and ye, you discover when you go to the dictionary and the dictionary.com, you're going to find ing, E-N-G. That also means to put fear, doubt, suspicion, anger, and madness in the victims that they attack, and destroys the calm of the people and the quiet of those people. And ing also means that they are also quick and can catch their prey by a sudden attack with a net and with ropes and with chains and yokes of iron, and to move and or proceed fast, especially to and from the jungle. And that sounds to me like a pure definition of being treated evil by the men of Ing, slave masters. I think it's safe to say that your God, He kept his promise. And if that's not true, then it's a lie that our people are being treated evil today. Is it?
No.
Or it's not a lie? No. So our people, my people of Yehuda, Judah, also called Negroes and African Americans today, are being treated evil. The first so-called Negro slave, they have a monument in St. Augustine of Florida. Monument, like a tourist attraction today, that says the first Negro slave was sold here in this spot as a slave auction market in St. Augustine, Florida in 1555. Right? That's what they had, 1555.
Right.
And there's also in the Bahamas, and I saw it myself, and I know the Vendu House on Shirley Street. The Vendu House was another place that the slaves were being sold to my people in the Bahamas by the British, the same men of Ing, slave auctions. And once they were sold to the slave masters, they were most definitely treated evil by the slave masters that put fear in my people. And some may be saying, why is he talking about that now, 2020? Well, why are you still talking about the Holocaust? The 1930s. Why are you still talking about the Civil War in the 1700s? Why are you still talking about Korea in the 1950s? Why are you still talking about Vietnam in the 1960s and the early 70s? Why are you still talking about Rome and Egypt and all the other nations of the world throughout history that killed your people and murdered them in the streets? Why are you still talking about Iran and Iraq? Why are you still talking of ISIS and ISIL? Why are you still concerned of Afghanistan in their own land? You devil, you. If you can speak of them, then I can speak of my history of the people of mine, my own, that you murdered. In cold blood, literally. In cold blood. So I encourage you once again to look the truth up for yourself and see that I speak the truth. See for yourself that I'm testifying of the men that had taken my people of Yehuda to a strange land other than their own land in bondage. And they're still entreating them evil after 400 years as was promised by their own God. As you just read, Genesis chapter 15, verse 13, and Acts chapter 7, verse 6 of the King James Version Holy Bible. And those people are, of course, referring to the tribe called Judah today in English with a J. Like they put them in jail with the J. I'm testifying to ye and to you tonight during this benediction of Yehuda in Hebrew. My people of Yehuda has now been taught to speak in the language of their slave masters. Yes, massa, which is English Creole. And so much until it now puts my soul in the position to say to Judah today, quote, peace be unto you, end quote. And some have no idea what Shalom Aleichem means, or Aleichem Shalom in Hebrew, that native tongue. And so much until a few hundred thousand of my people of Judah were also sold to the mankind of Spain. They were taken into the Latino islands of Spain, like Cuba, Puerto Rico, Santo Domingo, Espanola in Spain itself, the country. And now been taught to speak the Spanish idiom in Creole, Spanish Creole. And that also places my soul in a position to say to my Spanish-speaking tribal children of Yehuda, the Yehudites, can you imagine? La pese con vosotros. Espanol. Same greeting, Espanol. As well as La Vie, or Levi, whichever you prefer to many, as they know them. Also known as Haitians, which is the third tribe of the 12 tribes of Israel, the son called La Vie, or Jacob, that were taken captive and placed in bondage by the French, as I have now placed a plague in that country called the coronavirus plague in Italy.
Yes.
In that country, it was promised to come upon that land, the last days, to judge them. They killed my people, murdered them. How? They're still killing them today. How? By leaving them on an island called Haiti today, in poverty, the poorest country on the planet today. Poverty-stricken. Yes, many are now sojourning to escape the poverty. Some tried to escape, died on the way, trying to cross the ocean, the Caribbean. Sojourning in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, those who could not escape. And a few million that are now dwelling all over the United States of America today. There's a Haitian in just about every city, major city in this country, a family. A few million that are now here in the state of Florida, Port Florida, dwelling right here with Judah. As I also say to those in the tribe called La Vie, or Levi, should you prefer, that speaks French Creole, que la prie soit avec vous, to La Vie, even in French Creole, que la prie soit avec vous. Keep it in mind that all four of these languages are the same greeting of peace, as I mentioned a moment ago. However, they are meant only for my own people, the 12 tribes of Israel. Israel. Praise God.
Wow.
And that especially includes the fourth tribe that I just mentioned a few moments ago, that's known to the Celestial Lodge as Yehuda. And those that has come and obeyed
Chief ruler,
the command and repented and returned to their God,
chief ruler,
to come eat of this hidden manna,
Yes.
that I promised to give a new name that only I knew.
Yes.
They are now being called Yehudi Yahweh. Yud Wav Dalet Yud Wav Hey. And only I knew that name. Why? Because only my God gave it to me. He's the only one. He created it. And then as he embraced me, he whispered it in my ear with his spirit. Yud Wav Dalet Yud Wav Hey. That's the name, son. Yehudi Yahweh. No one knew that name before this day, this
the ones who
end,
received
before
it.
he ascended,
Except the ones of us who received it.
except the ones who received it. Praise
Here we
the
are.
Lord.
Here we are.
So at this same time again, I say once again, Shalom Aleichem to the 10 tribes of Israel over in the Middle East. And that does not include you, Benny. Benny and Cecil. Don't include you. And, or Benny, or that's Benjamin Netanyahu. Doesn't include you, your false Jews, your false pretenders, your wannabes. You who want to be Yehuda. You're a bunch of liars of Satan. The sin of Gog. The sin, S-I-N of G-O-G. You are the sin of God, your God. G-O-D. That's who you are. The victims of the Holocaust. That was more of a blessing than a victim. Huh? It was a blessing. You should have committed suicide. They were trying to save you. Shame. I also extend my greeting to the other 195 nations of the UN. I'm not going to be prejudiced. I'm not going to leave them out. I extend my greetings to you too. Those who are registered with the United Nations of the world. As I say once again tonight, hello. Hello. Because your hell is definitely remaining to be low. It's going to come lower.
Come quickly.
Lower and lower and going to come quickly. Why? Because the destroyer of the Gentiles is here. He's not on his way. He's not on his way.
Yes,
He's
sir.
here. And I have a little help. They're called plagues. That was sealed in Revelation chapter 11, verse 6. That's a lot of help. I have 7 helpers too. And I am not Santa Claus. They are not elves. I am not Santa Claus, and my helpers are not elves. But they are celestial angels. I'm going to introduce them to you in just a moment. In fact, please allow me to introduce them at this time.
Please do. Please do.
Allow me to introduce my soul to many and remind several and address a few who I am as my one self, my one soul, even as your host of this pre-session. My celestial name is called in Ing, the land of Ing, Mika Yahweh. And of course, my name is made up of 5 Hebrew characters. 2 of the 5 are positioned twice. That makes up the 7 positions. That also produces 7 angels. And those 7 positions are the same as the same 7 angels that are found in the book called Revelation. Mostly you can read of them in chapter 18. Chapter 18. They all have a plague, a vial. And it has come now to take away a particular she. They had born 7 languages that was given to Yahshua, as you also know as Isaiah. But they have also given up the ghost. They have now given up the ghost, G-H-O-S-T, which is the God of hosts, that we revealed on this past Sunday night. So you thought it was ghosts. See, when you read that the Christ gave the ghost on the cross, wasn't on the cross, he became the God of hosts out of the cross of his mind. That he's now here today testifying to this planet as the God of the host.
Yes. Came.
Praise the Lord. What
Hey,
do I look like dying again? You thought it was dying. Show me in the New Testament where it said he died.
Not this time.
He gave the ghost.
Never did.
And that was prophecy, prophetical, to give the ghost today. And here you have him, the God of hosts.
Yes.
There's 7 days of the God of hosts and 1 week.
Yes.
W-E-E-K has also come in their week, W-E-A-K, of their days. Even as these 7 angels have now come to give strength to this she who run in the wilderness with this child painted to give birth. That child is called Judah today. Praise the Lord.
Praise your name.
And all 7 is proven that as 2 of the 7 flew over the 16th state. Hear it now. You want to know the mystery? Hear it. Hear this. 2 of the 7 of my angels that are of my soul flew over the 16th state of these 48 states this past Tuesday morning and killed up a whole bunch of white folk. And that bunch is more than the media and the United States government officials are reporting to the American people today in the form of a whirlwind. See, the angels flies in a ship that whirlwinds. And see, what happens is you have to realize the truth of this now. You may want to wonder how in the world could a tornado form in the dark in less than 50-degree weather temperatures. In March. I told you on Sunday, here we are on March 1st as we continue to march on. Then I said we're going to march on, and we march right on those devils in Nashville, Tennessee with the whirlwind. They call them UFOs, spaceships. Can't be seen above the whirlwind. The clouds are hiding, which are the dust of my feet. Said it'll be the dust of my feet. The whirlwinds that form tornadoes. Killed up a whole bunch of them. Woke them up out of their sleep. Some never woke up. Some are still missing. And if you want to know where the rest of those are that are unaccounted for, then they were taken up with the whirlwind. And not by Scotty either. It wasn't no beam me up Scotty. Scotty was not there, but they were beamed up and taken captive. For sure. As I said they would. I said, he that leads the captivity shall go into captivity. What in hell do you think that means?
Praise to the wild hay. Get him, Get him,
We took him into captivity.
Get him, Got him.
Praise the wild hay. No one knew that mystery.
Never knew it.
Until tonight. Wow. That's in Revelation chapter 13. We took them hostage. Why? You gotta let my people go. Well, that happened this past Tuesday night. In the morning. I should say Tuesday morning. In the dark. The news media is lying to you. About 25. Just like they lied as a result of the total that was killed during Hurricane Andrew and Hurricane Katrina. And Dorian. And you can hold me responsible for all 3. Let's not forget to mention Michael of 2018. Let's not forget to mention Michael. I told them to give me my money.
So did.
Didn't I tell Tallahassee to give me what they owed me? They waited till after Michael departed to obey my commandment. Too late. We tore up Mexico City. It's called Mexico City? Is that what it calls?
It was. Huh? It was called.
In the panhandle of Florida? Mm-hmm. Anyway, the question you should have is why? Why would all of a sudden, in the middle of winter, when it just snowed in Tennessee last week.
Tornado that went through there.
Well, my soul deployed tornadoes in Nashville, Tennessee, in the middle of the night. But 90% of those white folks were still sleeping in their beds. I told you, didn't I tell you when I come back from New Orleans, either New Orleans, when I come back, I'm going to leave death behind. New Orleans is in the south. I came further to the south to leave death behind me in the north. Tennessee is north of me. Right? You should wonder why. Why?
I'll make it y'all way.
Keep it in mind, here's some of the reasons. Nashville, Tennessee is the capital of that state. Oh, Nashville is the capital. And there are several answers to the question, why the capital of Tennessee? Are you ready? Okay, here we go. One of the several answers to that question is because before the Civil War, I'm going to give a minute Somebody probably went and told Hillel to come to the Oval Office and look at this. Come and listen. That's Revelation chapter 6 and verse 5. Come and see. So I'm gonna give them a couple seconds, more seconds to sit down and grab the ink pens, turn the recording devices on. Although this is being recorded in both Facebook's live stream and YouTube live stream.
Got him.
So here's why that town, that little suburb of Nashville, Tennessee, was destroyed totally. Talking about reveal. You better read prophecy. You think you're going to reveal. Before the Civil War, about 700 Yehudites of Judah were not in servitude in Tennessee, in Nashville, Tennessee. They were not in bondage. They were not in bondage for any white slave masters. They were free. I mean, they were constituted by the government of this land to be free slaves that lived in small enclaves in northern Nashville. Are you hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
When, on the other hand, there were over 3,200 black slaves in the same city that were in servitude, owned by slave masters. However, by 1860, just 5 years prior to the signing of the emancipation of one Lincoln boy, the first rumblings of secession began to be heard across the South. A small suburb called Antebellum, heard of that? Antebellum, Nashville, was deemed as a prosperous city. In fact, the city's significance as a shipping port and a rail center made it a desirable prize of competing military forces that wanted to control the region's important river and railroad transportation routes. They want to keep control of that. Nevertheless, in February 1862, just 3 years before Lincoln signed the Emancipation to abolish slavery, Nashville became the first Confederate state capital to fall to Union troops. And thereby, the state was occupied by Union troops for the duration of the war. Now, when that happened, it was then that the so-called, quote, Negro slaves, quote, end quote, also known today as, quote, African Americans, quote, end quote, that were from Middle Tennessee at the time, fled to contraband camps around military installations in Nashville's eastern, western, and southern borders. And furthermore, when the 2-day Battle of Nashville commenced, that took place December 15th and 16th, 1864, 1 year before the signing of the bill, that became a significant Union victory, and perhaps the most decisive tactical victory gained by either side in the war, the Union and the rebels, the Confederate. It was also the war's final major military action in which Tennessee regiments played a large part of both sides of the battle. Afterward, the Confederates conducted a war of tradition, making guerrilla warfare a project to commit and make guerrilla raids and engaging in small skirmishes upon the so-called Negroes. That means they were going around slaughtering my people in guerrilla warfare. And with the Confederate forces in the Deep South almost constantly in retreat, that was going on. Nevertheless, in 1868, just 3 years after the Bill of Emancipation was signed by President Abraham Lincoln, and the Civil War had ended. Are you hearing me? The Civil War had ended. The Nashville chapter of the Ku Klux Klan was founded by a Confederate veteran after the war, whose name is known as John Watson Morton. That's John Watson Morton. So who was he? He was the same Ku Klux Klansman reported to have initiated General Nathan Bedford Forrest into the Vigilante organization that is responsible for the chapters of the secret insurgent group that was formed throughout the state and the South, and are the very same Klansmen that are responsible for killing my people of Judah. The same ones responsible for horsewhipping my people of Judah as slaves. The same ones responsible for lynching my people of Judah in trees made of shittim wood and oak trees, and for murdering millions of my people of Judah with their guns. And that murdering with their guns is recorded from the year 1770 during slavery. Are you ready for this? You may not have heard of. Some from Tennessee may have heard of this. And that includes the most recent murdering with a gun. That's July 26, 2018, when 25-year-old Daniel Hambrick, a young black-skinned and complexion Yehudite, my people, was fatally shot in his back as he ran away from the evilness and wickedness of a Nashville Metropolitan Police officer whose name was Andrew Delk. That afterward revealed a continuous sign of racism that lingers on in that police department to this day. Shot that poor boy, 25 years old, in his back as he was running away from the devil. And you want to know why did my soul deploy those two tornadoes in the wee hours of the morning to destroy a suburb of Nashville, Tennessee? Well, because of what was promised in Genesis chapter 15, verse 14. You still have your finger on that? Turn to Genesis 15, 14. That promise was made by your God, Yudawave. And that is the root of which is in Jeremiah. Read that first. Genesis chapter 15, verse 14. After my people were being treated evil for 40 years, what did your God say he would do?
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge.
That I is God, Yudawave, the great, good, mighty, and terrible black God. That's who that is. Yod Wafe. If you just pause for a moment, the angel's reading. If you look over my left shoulder to the right of the screen, you'll see a photo image, fool, not a graven image. It's a photograph, enlarged. You never taken a photograph before? It's not a graven image. A graven image is one that's carved into an image. This is not carved. It was taken with a photo camera. And that's what he gave us of himself. And right on his robe, white robe, you'll see his name. 3 Hebrew characters, of which one of the 3 is positioned twice, which is He. And they are from right to left. Yod He, Wav He. Yahweh, the Tetragrammaton. He is the one who said, I, that the angel's voice who you hear right now reading is saying, I, after that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And what else he said he would do?
And afterward,
they what?
Shall they come out with great substance?
Fort Knox. And as Roosevelt built Fort Knox, he was building it for us.
That's all he was doing.
All the gold. That means every single bar of gold in Fort Knox in Texas belongs to us. Of such large, my people, the Hebrew Israelites of Judah, and of Levi and all other 10 tribes of Israel. It belongs to us. And let me give you a special message tonight, Washington District of Columbia. I'm going to give you a very special message tonight. You who are watching, even if it's the recording of this telestudy, pre-session, testimony, all the same. You know who I am. You want to pretend in front of the United States citizens of this country that you do not know. But you know. You also know that that gold belongs to us. That you even confiscated from King Solomon, back in Egypt, in the Middle East. It came out of Egypt with my people back then. They took it with them. You confiscated it when you found Judah, Solomon with Judah. Now I want my gold. And I also want you to let my people go. See, it's almost the same. Gold and go. You just add the LD to the GO, which is the loving of my people, the disciples. Let them go. If you refuse to let my people go and to give us our gold, then what you experienced in Nashville, Tennessee this past Tuesday morning is just a wake-up call. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. The plague that you know now that you think is a virus, not a virus, a plague, is going to get worse and worse and worse with a T. In fact, it's going to be and get so worse until 2 parts of all the land shall be cut off and die. But the third part will I bring through the fire. They will come under the rod, and I will save them. And that's a promise. I think you better go and read that. Someone turn to Zechariah chapter 13 and read verses 8 and 9, please. Would you do that? Zechariah chapter 13. Read it nice and loud so that all of the senators, House of Representatives, the administrators of the Trump administration, so all can hear and see that what I say is the truth, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do to stop it. I don't care what your CDC says, who stands in front of or sits in front of Congress and give a speech, or how you think you can control it. If you can't control it, then I'll go away, and you'll never see me again. I promise.
I promise you. Don't worry about it.
I mean, you saw me over 2,000 years ago, and you keep saying, I know what you're saying in your mind. This nigga keep coming back. Why in hell do he keep coming back? Well, here's your answer to that before my angel read the scriptures, the verses. I keep coming back forever. I keep coming back forever. That's why I keep coming back. Forever.
Just like that.
It's simple.
Just like that.
Read that, please. One of the angel voices you'll hear. You won't see the face, but you'll hear the voice. Read that, please.
And it shall come to pass.
It might.
It shall.
See, when it comes, it's going to pass. Oh, yeah. When it comes. See, it's coming, but once it comes, it's going to pass. And a lot of people are going to pass with it.
Gotta go.
What's going to happen when it comes to pass?
That in all the land.
There he is saying all again. See, the thing is, the secret is you don't know what the land is.
Right.
Now, if you don't know what the land is, then check a geographical map.
Check it out.
And all the land that you see on this planet, that's the land. It does not. It does not include the water, but the land, all the land. What's going to happen?
Said Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die.
And what else?
But the third shall be left.
Shall be cut off and die. First, they're going to be cut off from the society. Be cut off from society by taking them to a tent or the hospital. And once they are taken off of civilization from society into a seclusion, and they're going wherever they are, whatever it takes them in a tent, whether it be a stadium, makeshift tents all over the place, all over the world. There's not going to be enough hospitals. Then they're only going to be taking them to those places to die.
Right.
Once they die, they're going to put them in a massive grave or dump them in the ocean until they become dumped in the ocean themselves. But they shall die in what?
But the third shall be left therein.
On the third day. The third. Shall be left.
Shall be left.
Therein. Therein what? They're in the den with the lion.
The lion's den.
The lion's den.
Come up from the thicket.
And what?
And I will bring the third part through the fire.
That fire that must be, you must be looking for a fire to come to. That fire is a bright light that you see at night that you think is a star. It's the mothership.
Oh, I better recognize.
For the fire. And what else is going to happen?
And will refine them as silver is refined.
The first thing they're going to refine is be like silver. And I just told you a few moments ago, I want my gold. Why do I want my gold? We don't see why I want my gold.
And will try them as gold is tried.
I can have my gold. And what else?
They shall call on Mem-Yod's name, and I will hear them.
Right, Mem-Yod, my name. I will hear them. And what else? Read on.
I will say, it is my people.
See whose people they belong to?
Mem-Yod.
M-Y. In English. And what else?
And they shall say, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh is my God.
That's what they're saying right now. They know who their God is. That's verse 9.
Yes.
Okay. Praise the Lord.
Praise Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh.
That's all you need to know. However, that is only the root of Jeremiah chapter 4. Now read Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 7. And see, that is the introduction to Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 7.
Yes, it is.
Because here is how that's going to happen by this fella. What does that say?
It says, and I quote, the lion.
What? As I just said, that some are going to be put in the den with the lion. The lion what?
Is come up from his thicket.
Now see the thicket, here's what the thicket is, if you don't know. The thicket is a thick suburb of the city in the South. The largest city in the South of the United States and Florida. It's called Miami. The small suburb called Brownsville.
Wow. Let me see.
That's the thicket where the lion sits tonight. Now the lion's going to travel and go up to the north. And as you go up to north from Miami, that means he'd be coming from the south. And it also means he'll be coming up from his thicket. Now, once I go up from my thicket, as I did a few times already this year, that's why I told you, when I come back down, death follows.
Yes, it does. Destruction.
So read what happened when the lion come up from his thicket. And what's going to happen?
It says, as he comes up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way.
Right.
He is gone forward from his place to make thy land desolate.
I told you where the place is, from my place.
and thy city shall be laid waste.
The city shall be laid waste?
Without an inhabitant.
Without what?
Without
if
an
you don't believe
inhabitant.
that, when we log off tonight, if you want to put this on pause, if you're watching the recording and you're on YouTube, then put this on pause and go to your search box and just type in Nashville tornadoes and look at those videos and see that the places is not desolate. The cities, that city, there's more that you're going to be seeing. It's going to be joined by others. Don't worry. Others are going to join Nashville soon. Praise the Lord. I think that's all you need to read.
Glory.
So who is this destroyer of the Gentiles that's headed by John Watson Morton?
Oh, yeah, that culprit.
Who are the destroyers that are headed by him? Those that are responsible and be responsible for what took place in 1979. Sounds familiar? In 1979, my aunt came to Miami, Florida, in search for his sheep and his servant. And during that same year, now I don't know if it's a result of them knowing that he came to Miami and who he is, or that their leader, the Klansman, the head dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, his men burnt crosses outside of 2 African American sites in Nashville, Tennessee, which included the city's headquarters of the NAACP. They burnt crosses in front of the NAACP headquarters, in front of a few of my people's homes in 1979. And you want to know why the tornadoes in the middle of winter came upon Nashville? Why? To blow out the fire. Oh yeah, they came out to blow out the fire of the Ku Klux Klans, burning crosses. That's why. And for murdering millions of my people of Judah in the wake of the commandment of Mount Wafe to let my people go. And this is just the beginning. As I continue to deploy upon this planet, not the United States, this planet belongs to us.
You.
As I continue to deploy upon this planet, those are mine 7 angels that were created by 5 Hebrew characters. See, I didn't even get to that yet. 5 Hebrew characters are mine ancestral name, and they are from right to left. Mem, Yod Kaf, Yod He, Wab He. And regardless of their deadly and destroying attributes, all 7 would like to welcome all of you to our Wednesday's edition of Precession. Toy, we're not prejudiced. And this welcome is also being extended to the 2 witnesses, and by the 2 witnesses of the same soul that's read in Revelation chapter 11 and verses 3 through 12. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
In the meantime, as we prepare to move on out toward our agenda for tonight, that's just a benediction. And at this time, if you plan, now those who just joined us, if you plan to be in our company tonight, along with others that are going to join us until the completion of this tonight's session, then we're asking that you please take out your study tools, you know what they are. If you don't have a group of them, then take out your King James Version Holy Bible, or you can use your cell phone's Bible. Log on to the Google and pull up King James Bible. You can get I believe they have the Gateway. The Gateway is a good Bible online. Please join us. Dictionary. We're going to use the synonym finder again tonight by Jerome Rodell. Most importantly, we also ask that you, as always, grab something to write with, a writing instrument, and something to write on. Take notes. Please. I'm encouraging you. And for the record, for those who keep record, this is pre-session numbered as 128. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
128. And that is, of course, a continuance from our last session that we held this past Sunday night. That was number 127. And as a reminder, this past Sunday was constituted at sundown as the 22nd day of the 12th month, right?
Yes.
And that now makes this Wednesday night sundown the beginning of the 25th day, so for this final 12th month, which is on Yudah Warfare's calendar, and year 6022. We're going to go over it some more. And we're going to also emphasize in a few moments why that is so important to keep up with the correct time.
Yes.
In the meantime, that means that in 6 more sundowns from tonight, we will be faced with the first day of the first month of our 6023 solar year. And that again is of our God, Yudah Warfare's calendar. And for the record, according to the Gregorian calendar by Pope Gregory XIII, tonight is also constituted by that calendar as Wednesday evening, March 4th, 2020, right? 2020.
Yes.
And after midnight tonight, of course, will be constituted by them as March 5th, 2020. Now, that means by counting from tonight, midnight, to 6 more midnights of that calendar. And of course, because this year is what they call a, quote, leap year, unquote. Still can't swallow that. See, they added an extra day this last month, February. February usually have 28 days, but we found ourselves looking at February 29th on Saturday night, this past Saturday night, opposed to 3 consecutive years of just 28 days in February. So because they did that, this means that after midnight tonight, again, will be their March 5th. And by counting 6 more midnights from tonight, midnight, and that will put us in these 59 states and the rest of the world to face what has been calculated on their calendars at 12 o'clock midnight as tonight as Wednesday or Thursday, right? After tonight. But in 6 more sundowns, it'll be March 11th, Wednesday. Right? That means next week.
Yes, sir.
Next Tuesday.
Already.
To Wednesday. Already.
Already.
See, that's after the night. Now, 7 days a week. But we're going to count 6 more. We'll be right there on Tuesday evening at sundown. And then that midnight will be Wednesday, March 11th. Imagine that. And we're approaching it. We're getting close. All right?
Yes, sir.
Praise Warfare.
Praise the Lord.
All 12 tribes of the children of Israel must adhere to that. We will also be right in the middle of the first day of our first month. It's called a beard of our solar calendar. A beard. And then we will also begin to observe a beard at the presidented sundown, as I just mentioned. That's set to be on Tuesday evening, March 10th, sundown, until Wednesday evening, March 11th at sundown. You got that? That's the good news. The bad news is, I'm going to make that announcement right now, even as I'm reminded during the editorial. After next week, we will only have 1 pre-session a week, WEEK. I've been told so far, unless it changed, and my OB says he changed not. And that pre-session will commence and be presented after Shabbat at sundown. That means our Shabbat is going to be recognized from sundown Tuesday to sundown Wednesday this next year. Why? Because it rotates. our Sabbath day rotates. It don't stand still. Whenever the earth stands still, then we will stand still on our Shabbat. But the earth continues to move. The sun is what stands still. The earth revolves on its axis, and it also rotates on its axis, but it revolves around the sun. So only our people who are following the false Jews keep Sabbath, the Sabbath day, every sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. That never rotates. And because of that, they're going to be killed.
Perish.
Their souls will be cut off from among their people. That's not a threat. It's a promise. You want to read it? Exodus chapter 33. Start at verse 14 for the record. If you want to read that, Exodus chapter 31. And read beginning at verse 14 all the way to 18 so you can see who wrote it. They find the Sabbath day. We're going to explain in a moment how we calculated that. But after next week, we'll have a pre-session next Wednesday, sundown, which would be the end of the first day of our year, next year. But we will no longer have pre-session on Sunday evenings. And pretty soon, after I complete coming up from my thicket and going up from my thicket across a few more cities that I'm going to visit, when I'm done, when I'm finished, I'm going to tell my God I'm finished. I'm going to tell my Ab I am finished. That's prophecy. And when I'm finished, I tell my Ab that I'm finished to do as he commanded me to do, and we're not going to have any pre-sessions by video or audio, telephone, telestudy, tell anybody else outside of this. We're going to be in a place in the den, the lion's den.
Yes, sir, indeed.
And those who are obedient, we're going to have our pre-sessions every week. We're going to be in private, in the lion's den. We're not going to, why? Because by then, you won't want to be out there anyway.
No.
I mean, not even be any telephones or television. I mean, not be on the internet. They think that what they read in Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, about some terrible times coming, is just something to read. I tell them during every editorial to stock up and wait and get ready. It's coming.
Come on.
Man, better come on.
Come on.
The kingdom of warfare is at hand.
Yes, indeed.
That's all they do. Listen. They don't hear. Nashville, Tennessee is just a wake-up call. See how close it's getting. Praise warfare for those who are obedient.
Yes.
But next Wednesday or Sunday will be our next pre-session. I'm not even certain that we'll have one this Sunday. Now, why is that so important? So that you can keep the law of the most important Feast of Tabernacles of all three feasts that there are, the Feast of Tabernacles. Or did they know that? I'm going to repeat that. Of all the three feasts that we host and observe every year, the Feast of Tabernacles is the most important.
Of course it is.
That's why it's so important to keep up with the Sabbath day each year. Someone read that, please, so I can see. Leviticus chapter 23. Why? Well, something must have happened during the Feast of Tabernacles on that night. Is that true?
Yes.
Something happened.
All right. And for those who don't know, I know there are several who joined us tonight. And for those who do not know, and you're looking for the Christ of Yudawaphe, then here's how you would know him. And that's according to prophecy of his birth. His birth is not December 25th. That's a lie. Besides, that's the 10th. That's the 14th day of the 10th month by our calendar anyway. December 25th of their calendar is the 14th day of the 10th month of our calendar. And the Christ was not born, it did not come out of the womb on the 14th day of the 10th month. or December 25th of their calendar. Even the Jews are now confessing and admitting that the Christ was born during what they call Yom Kippur or Day of Atonement of their calendar. But according to our calendar, he came out of the womb on the 15th day of the 7th month of our calendar. That's when the Christ was born. The 15th day of the 7th month of our solar calendar, which according to their calendar is September 27th. And according to our observance, is called the Feast of Tabernacles. That's why it's so important. Would you read that, please? And let's see what happens in Leviticus chapter 23. And where does that fall? Start at verse 34, please.
Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord Yod-Heh-Wah-Peh.
Read verses 35 and 36, please.
On the first day shall be an holy convocation.
And we're going to do that in September.
Oh, yes.
If it's our will, we don't know what September is going to look like in this country or on this planet yet. But according to prophecy that we're going to read a little later on in this session tonight, we know that we're going to have a Feast of Tabernacles. You're going to see it in a few moments toward the end. What else is Asia's voice? Kabayah reading.
Ye shall do no servile work therein.
We'll explain more of that later, what that means.
7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord Yod-Heh-Wah-Peh. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you.
Praise Yod-Wah-Peh.
Praise Yod-Heh-Wah-Peh.
Period. The most important observance, the most important feast of our high holy days that you are to keep. You got that? Okay, now with that read, nevertheless, we're going to continue now on tonight by way of our knowledge and wisdom on how we must arrive to the celestial calculation of solar time in order to reach that correct day, and care of how we must count in order that we will be on time. That will also explain and confirm how we ought to get to the correct date of the Feast of Tabernacles according to our solar time of the sun, ruled by the sun, right? And the only way that we can know how to count the correct time is how? Does anyone know? How is it the power that you would need to count the correct time? I'm going to give you a hint. It involves your mind. Of course, divine intelligence is superior power of mind. But I gave you with me here in Miami and with around me a hint the other day. You must be what? Erudite.
Erudition. Yes.
You must be erudite to be able to count correctly according to your Obb's book that he wrote, which is called The Mathematics of Yod-Heh-Wah-Peh. And we have it in our library here. You must be erudite in order to count correctly. You got it?
Yes.
Why? Why is it that you must be erudite? Who? You're close, but let me share with you why. Because the beasts of the field, throughout their history, had thought to change times and laws.
Yes, yeah.
That's why.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And the reason why the beasts and devils of this world did that is to keep the elect of Mount Yahweh from entering into the gates of heaven. Or did you not know that neither ye nor you can enter into the kingdom of Yahweh unless ye and you are erudite? We don't want any dumb people in heaven. You cannot be illiterate in heaven and rule the world, rule the planet. That's what's happening now with you. Right. I'm not here to bring upon you, your mind, more illiteracy. You must become erudite. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Unless ye and you are erudite, you cannot enter. Or do you even know what that means? Some may not even know what erudite means. For those who are taking notes, I'm going to spell it. Even those online who join us on live stream, those who watch the recording on YouTube, here's how it's an English word, begins with a vowel, E, followed by R-U-D-I-T-E, erudite. E-R-U-D-I-T-E, from left to right. E-R-U-D-I-T-E, erudite. Now, someone look it up, please. You have your dictionary. You must just study tools now. I warned you. I encourage you earlier to get your study tools out. Erudite, whoever gets it, read the definition that you have and your definition resource.
And as an adjective,
erudite, well, say it louder. They cannot see you, but they're going to hear your voice.
Erudite.
And according to which source did you get that from?
I have it from
so that you can share with others.
Google Wikipedia.
Google's Wikipedia online.
Dictionary.
What's it say?
It says, as an adjective being used.
It's adjective.
Having or showing great knowledge.
Wait. Ooh.
Great.
Having or showing great knowledge.
Or learning.
What do you think we've been doing? And why we present these pre-sessions every night? Oh, not every night. Well, you should be doing every night.
Studying.
But every week.
Should be
studying.
Every night.
What else you have? Is that yours? Because Kabaya is telling us she found another one online. Okay, Kabaya, what do you have?
Having or showing knowledge that is gained by studying.
Oh my God, hold it now. Good, grace of the Lord. Did you hear that? She just slapped 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15 right in the face. In the Bible. 2 Timothy chapter 2, and verse 15. Okay. Would you repeat that, please, the definition? Kaviar?
Having or showing knowledge that is gained by studying.
Period. Which source did you find that so that you can share with others? They can look it up.
This is according to Merriam-Webster.
According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary.com.
Online.
Right. Wow. It's simple. That means if you study, you become erudite.
Wow.
Wow. I thought it was difficult. Right?
It make it difficult.
But that's a problem, Houston. Houston, we have a problem. What? Well, several problems.
Right.
And one amongst several problems why you are not erudite, who's guilty of this, is because most, if not all of you, not ye, you, just hate to read. My people hate to read.
Yes.
And the slave masters, they love to read.
Right. We're reading about
the white folks, the European, the digital grade people, they love to read. Now, if you don't believe me, then go to your dentist's office by appointment and go sit in the lobby waiting for your dental appointment. And when you now there's magazines on the table all over the place. Right? And when you walk in, you'll see the white folks read the magazine. You'll see our people on the cell phone texting.
Yep.
Go to the airport, waiting on the flight. You see the white folks reading the newspaper. You see our folks, our people texting. Somebody playing that cherry game, whatever they call it. Cherry pick. I don't know what the hell it. Pac-Man or whatever they be doing. Go to any place where our people are waiting to see an important appointment or transportation. And while you're waiting, look around and you'll see white folks reading. You'll see our people either texting or sleeping. Right? Hate to read.
Yes.
Another reason is because our people hate math. They hate to count. Math. They get a calculator on their cell phone that work for them.
No.
Don't even know how to use it, some of them. Some don't even know they have a calculator on their cell phone. I'm serious.
True.
But if you were erudite, then you would not hate to read and or hate to count or write, take notes, study. Even by way of mathematics, you would hate to count. And if you were erudite, then that would also mean that no one can deceive ye as the elect of your warfare. Did you hear it? I don't think some heard me. I better say it again. If ye and you were erudite, then that would also mean that no one can deceive ye or you as the elect of your warfare. That's coming from a soul that I'm familiar with. It is. And furthermore, if you were erudite, then you would also know that the beasts and the devils can never change the solar time of the celestial lodge and celestial laws of your warfare or of his Christ, member of your covenant warfare. They can never do that. I repeat once again, if you're erudite, then you will not be deceived by the devils, the beasts and the devils, to make you think that they can change the time and laws of your God, your warfare, or of his Christ, Mem Yod Kaf, your warfare. Now read Daniel chapter 7. Let's see. Verse 25. Let's see who they got. Daniel chapter 7, verse 25.
Yes, sir.
Read that, please. It's only appropriate for Daniel to read it.
Very good. And I quote, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Wear out their minds from studying and reading and counting.
And think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
Praise the Lord. See?
Right there.
However, it was merely a thought. It was their thought to change times and laws. And since the devils and the beasts can only think to change times and laws, and as soon as they have you moving their clocks forward, so they have you moving the clocks forward and backward, their clocks.
Right.
See, some who don't study, as soon as they have you moving their clocks forward, even on March 8th, 2020, heads up.
That's when it comes up, right?
Even on March 8th, 2020, at 2 o'clock in the a.m., if you move your clock forward and backward on November 1st, 2020, at 2 o'clock a.m. in the a.m., just as they do every March and November. They call it what, quote? Daylight savings time, end quote. They're trying to save daylight, trying to keep up with the sun. You can never keep up with the sun. How are you gonna save daylight?
Right.
They treating saving daylight as if they can saving money in the bank.
Put it in a jar.
Make a deposit of daylight. Put the daylight in the jar. Put it in the dark cabinet.
The devil for you.
Then they have even you thinking and believing that they have the power to change time and laws, right? People who don't study. See, I'm not reading the comments, but I'm not speaking to those who are around here at the round table in Miami. See, we had the round table again in Miami, Florida. We have our own round table too, Donald. How they have.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as they change those clocks forward this coming Sunday, March 8th at 2 o'clock a.m., they're going to think, our people are going to think that they have the power to change time and laws. Right, Jacob? Oh, yes, you do. Don't lie. I know you say, no, not me. Yes, you do. How is that? Because as soon as you go back to work or school next Monday, the following Monday, that will, of course, be March 9th, 2020, I guarantee you that someone at your place of employment or in school is going to ask you, how do you like this new time change?
Automatically.
Mm-hmm. How you like this new time change? Or some may even say, I'm late because time changed this weekend. And I forgot to change my clocks. Time changed.
Yeah.
I used to do that little experiment. I call it a bell ringer. When I was teaching, when I was training those in law enforcement academy. Every single Monday, like clockwork, after that clock was forwarded or put backward an hour, I would give the cadets that bell ring. I would say something happened this past weekend that affected every single soul in this country. Everyone was affected. What was it? And some thought, I don't know. And some who were sharp, they said, oh, I know, time changed. And I would wait till everyone finished, and then after they were done, I'd collect the papers and put a check on it or X on it. And I found myself Xing out all the papers. And they would say, they would call me Mr. Israel. How come you put an X? Like it's wrong. Time did change. I said, no, it did not. Time can never change.
Never.
What? Yes, it did. No, it did not. Your clocks changed.
Right.
Your clocks were changed. You can never change time. How is that? Because it's the same time right now as it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And that sun is in the same position that it was yesterday as it is today. It's going to be there again tomorrow at the same time.
Like clockwork.
Time never changes. Praise the Lord for
Praise the Lord.
wisdom. See, because if they can, then that would defy the mighty God and his time set, his set of time, which is impossible.
Yes.
They can never change time.
No.
But they have you thinking their own thought that they can change time, when in fact, they cannot ever do that. Now, someone turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and read beginning at verse 1, because some may not know this. We're here to reach our people across the planet.
Right.
Some may not have ever seen this, so we got to get our people. Right?
So.
All right, read that, please. Begin at verse 1. And for those who join us, that's Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Begin at verse 1. And you're just going to read until you get to like verse 12. Read to verse 11. That'll be enough. That's the foundation. That's the subject.
To everything there's a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven.
Read on.
A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance.
Wow.
A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose.
Whoa.
A time to keep and a time to cast away.
Wow.
A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak.
That's a good one.
A time to love and a time to hate.
What?
A time of war and a time of peace.
Shalom.
What profit have he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? I have
get the answer, verse 10, 11.
I have seen the travail which Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh have given to the sons of men to be exercised in it.
And that travail is knowing how to count and keeping the right time.
Right.
You just read it. You read it right now of time. Now read verse 11 and you get a shock. Read verse 11.
He have made everything beautiful in his time.
In his what? Whose time?
His.
Right. What? And what else?
Also, he have set the world in their hearts so that no man can find out the work that Yod-Heh-Wah-Weh maketh from the beginning to the end.
Got that?
That work.
Good gracious. That's enough.
Find out that.
I pray that you got that. See, the devils have many of my people believing that they can change times and laws.
Yeah.
Right?
I actually believe that.
Right. So since they think that, turn to Matthew chapter 5 as I remind ye and proclaim to you of the following that starts in verse 17. I'm going to read Matthew chapter 5. I'm going to start at verse 17. Since they think that. Right?
Yes, sir.
Right. All right. So since you think that, then think not that I'm come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Verily, verily, I say unto you. I said verily twice. They left out one. Verily for you and verily for ye. Till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. I went over that one night. Why? Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of Yod-Heh of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be great and be called great in the kingdom of Yod-Heh of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees who writes of the media, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of Yod-Heh of heaven. That means you have to write better than they do and become erudite more than they are. Got that?
Yes, sir.
Let me let you focus for a moment on the last sentence that's telling you that ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven, Yod-Heh, unless you are erudite. And that will guarantee ye that you will know how to count the correct time and obey the law or else you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. That means no one that is anti-erudite can enter into heaven. Now we're going to prove it. Let's prove it. Turn to Matthew chapter 7. I'm going to prove it. Look at, now go 2 chapters to 7 and follow me as I remind ye and proclaim to you the following, beginning at verse 21. Verse 21. Because see, not everyone that saith unto me, Mika Yahweh, Mika Yahweh, Lord, Lord, shall enter to the kingdom of heaven. But he that doeth the will of my Father, which is in heaven, shall enter. Many will say to me in that day, Mika Yahweh, Mika Yahweh, Mem, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have cast out devils? And in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. You were here. I know some particular now that were here, right? Sticking right in my house. It's going to happen. I don't know you. Depart from me. You that work iniquity. You who hold cats in your hand and says, my new boo. Who hold animals. I don't know you. Depart from me. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it, right into the ditch, into a sinkhole. Now follow me to Matthew chapter 18, and at the following fulfillment of this 2023-year-old prophetical cryptogram. Are you hearing me? This is a 2023-year-old prophetical cryptogram. Let it enter into your minds tonight so that you can hear and see these words as they are being read. As I ask for someone to read, beginning at verse 1.
At the same time came the disciples unto Mem Yod Kuf Yodewahe, saying, Who?
Excuse me.
Who is the greatest?
Read that again.
Kingdom of heaven.
Read that again.
At the same time came the disciples unto Mem Yod Kuf Yodewahe, saying,
Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?
That's a question. You asked the question. Right?
Yes, sir.
Come here. Just come here. Come right here. Come right here. I want the world to see this. Yeah. I want to make sure that the world can see this. Yeah. Can you see him? I want to make sure. They can see him.
Yes, sir.
Set him right in the midst. Put him right in the midst. You can see him? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
I want the whole world to see this little child that I call in the midst of you tonight. For verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is great as the kingdom of heaven. Whoso shall receive one such little child in my name. What's my name? Ma'am. Look what he's learning. Who else knows to call me that? Receiveth, ma'am. Ma'am, you, me. Whosoever shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, you believe in me? It were better for him that a milestone were hanged about his neck for those who do not, and that he would drown in the depth of the sea. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Okay, you can have a seat. Praise the Lord. That's fulfilled. That was predestined to happen during this era of time. You couldn't see that over 2,023 years ago because it hadn't happened yet. Is it a coincidence that this child is in my house tonight?
No, never.
Now turn to Matthew chapter 19, get some more fulfillment. As I remind all of you from verse 23, Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19, as I begin to read, verse 23. For verily I say unto you, all you of Hollywood, all you of the stock markets that made yourself rich and has lost a few trillion last week.
6 of them.
All you that are a rich man, think he's rich. But verily I say to you that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And I gave some room by saying hardly. That means you have a chance. Be wise with your riches. You want to be wise with your riches and help my children and my people who are in poverty. Help me with some housing for my people that's coming to Miami or Florida, that I will have shelter for them when they come. I personally don't want your money. Don't need it. I have gold. It's called Fort Knox. But while it lasts, I need, if you want to be or enter the kingdom of heaven, then you have the power with your money to buy buildings, as my aunt did in the 1980s, and hotels in Miami, and motels in Miami on Miami Beach, that I can house my people free of charge. They shall be redeemed without money. They sold themselves for naught. They shall be redeemed without money. So if you want to hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven, then help my people and use your riches, your wealth to buy buildings, opposed to buying helicopters that will crash, jets that will crash. As my soul said to you over 2,022 years ago, and again I say unto you tonight and today, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Yotebahe. And I mean that. But how would you know that it's me? How would you know? There are a few who believe, and there's even fewer who are mine. There are a few who believe, but even fewer who are mine. So you got to come and continue to study to know what that means. And why they say aman instead of believe. Because if you believe, you be lie Eve. Eve is a liar.
Liar.
Would you know that it's me? Just because I say it's me? All right, someone go to Matthew chapter 24. No, you go there. I'm going to read that too. I got to read that to you. It's printed in red ink. If you have a very good King James Version Holy Bible, it should be printed in red ink.
Right.
So I mean, I have to say this. Verse 24. Matthew chapter 24, verse 24. That's 2 days. What do you think is going to happen on the third day?
Over.
Isn't that 24? It's 2 days.
Yeah.
For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Quote, end quote. Now, here's the question. What is this, quote, shall arise, end quote? And look at that very closely. I'm going to remove the veil from over your hearts tonight, from over your mind. Look at that very closely. Shall arise. See, that is a and rise, R-I-S-E, which is a lot different from just rise, R-I-S-E by itself, right?
Right.
There's 2 different words. Arise, as they put the A to be juxtaposed together with rise, and then rise by itself. Now you must keep in mind that this did not say rise. You must also keep in mind that the sun is said to rise. The sun has never said that it shall arise, right? That's S-U-N, sun. No one ever says the sun is going to arise tomorrow morning. It always says, I'll see you at sunrise, not sun arise, right? So what is this arise? You should want to know. Teaching you how to become erudite. And we will begin teaching you how to become erudite by letting you know that the word arise in English, A-R-I-S-E from left to right, by itself in English is defined as several meanings. Several meanings. 5 that are found in dictionary.com online. If you want to go to that source, I'm going to share with you what I discovered during my erudition of study. Number 1 of the 5, to get up from sitting. This is arise. To get up from sitting, lying, L-Y-I-N-G, or kneeling. It also means rise. For example, he arose from his chair when she entered the room, as some do as I enter the room.
Yes.
Arise. Number 2 of the 5, to awaken, like wake up. For example, he rose at sunrise to get an early start to the beach, to awaken. Number 3 of the 5, to move upward, mount, like he went up to the Mount of Olives. Ascend, like he arose and ascended up into heaven, like Ab did. For example, a thin curl of smoke arose lazily from the cabin. Number 4 of the 5, to come into being. You believe that? To come into being, action or notice, to originate, to appear, to spring up. For example, new problems arise daily. New problems arise daily. And finally, number 5 of the 5, to result or proceed, to spring or issue, is sometimes followed by from, F-R-O-M. For example, it is difficult to foresee the consequences that may arise from this action. After such destruction, many problems and resettlement often arise. End quote. Now that definition comes from dictionary.com, those 5 definitions. You got it?
Got it.
And furthermore, I told you earlier, you may need your synonym finder because there are a few synonymous words that are found in your synonym finder by Jerome Irvin Rodale that are as follows: to spring, originate, as I just mentioned, the definition, derive, D-E-R-I-V-E, flow, F-L-O-W, issue, that we mentioned, emanate, that's E-M-A-N-A-T-E, emanate, proceed, and stem. That means to come up or out of something into existence. And spring also applies to being rapid or of a sudden emergence, suddenly emerged, like an idea that springs to mind. Arise may also convey the fact of coming into existence or notice, opposed to rise, R-I-S-E, that often stresses gradual growth or ascent. And on the other hand, the prominence of originate implies to a definite source or a starting point. For example, the fire originated in the basement, right? And derive also implies to a prior existence in another form. For example, the holiday derives from an ancient Roman feast flow that aids to a spring that's of a suggestion of abundance or ease of inception. That's just to name a few. You can do the rest of your own study.
Wow.
In other words, whoever these false Christs, in plural, and false prophets are, in plural, that shall rise during these last days and shall show great signs and wonders, etc. They are expected to be men and women from and of all ethnicities of this planet. All of them. And that includes all races, creed, and color of their skin complexions. That will suddenly be seen as those that shall get up from a sitting position, even those that were lying down in the bed with other men and other women. And that includes men lying in bed with men and women lying in bed with women. As this lying, L-Y-I-N-G, also means lying with their tongues, false words that will match their personality, that they are liars. These false Christs and false prophets, in plural, that shall arise during these last days and shall show great signs and wonders, will also be found kneeling as popes and bishops in the Catholic churches across the planet, especially in Rome. For example, the bishops arose from his chair when she, the Pope, that carries a female's name known as Francis, entered the room. These false Christs and false prophets, in plural, that shall rise during these last days and shall show great signs and wonders, are those to be awakened as they wake up to the knowledge that Yuduwafe is God. Then they will pretend that they knew Yuduwafe is God all the time, but they just found out. For example, he arose at sunrise to hear the word that Yuduwafe is God, to get an early start to let his or her church also know of his followers that Yuduwafe got him or her up early that Sunday morning. It was Yuduwafe, it was Yahweh who got me up to come to church this morning to preach to you. These false Christs and false prophets, in plural, that shall arise these last days and shall show great signs and wonders, are expected to move upward in the world, even in the mount of their own church buildings or temples. that they shall ascend to the people of their own above the heights of heaven, just like Lucifer said that he would do. Like he would ascend in Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 14. And that reads, and I quote, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High, end quote. Lucifer, only to succumb to being no more than a thin curl of smoke that now arose lazily from the cabin of the White House, that now sits in the Oval Office. It's called, quote, the White House, end quote. That's as far as he's going to get above the cloud. These false creatures, he did say that. He said he's the great, he said he's the chosen.
Yeah.
He said he's the chosen.
When I heard it,
these false Christs and false prophets in plural that shall arise during these last days and shall show great signs and wonders are expected to come into being that was never being a being in the first place. I repeat, they are expected to become or come into being that was never a being in the first place.
Yeah.
Which means that they will be digital-grade beasts. They will be mankind looking to come into action or notice, to be noticed. They will be those that originated from the serpent of the garden. They will appear as a man or a woman in sight, but will spring up as the snakes and the wolves that they are and have become, even as they become new problems that shall arise daily in society, churches. These false Christs and false prophets in plural that shall arise during these last days and shall show great signs and wonders will be the result of those that were perceived to be one who they want to be, but will merely spring their souls into the issue of destruction that will also be followed by them to hell, from hell, of the bottomless pit. And so much until it would be difficult to foresee the consequences that they will arise from their action. And after such destruction, many problems in resettlement will also arise. They will also spring forth as the originators that they are, that derive from what they were, which will then cause them to flow to an issue, not to emanate their purpose, but will halt their effort to proceed and stem that with no growth, which means that they will attempt to come up or out of something into existence that never existed. And that spring also implies the being rapid of or of a sudden emergence, like an idea that springs to mind, that suddenly they thought they could be somebody who they're not. That one day they was, the other day they was not, and the next day they will never be.
Just like that.
This means that these false Christs and false prophets in plural that shall rise during these last days and shall show great signs and wonders shall convey the fact of coming to existence or notice, opposed to rise, R-I-S-E, that often stresses gradual growth or ascent, gradually. And so much until these false Christs and false prophets in plural that shall arise during these last days shall show great signs and wonders that shall be the promise of originating a definite source and starting point, but would merely be like starting a fire that originated in their basement of anthropology of Genesis chapter 1, and verses 27 and 28. That had derived from a prior existence in another form. For example, the Cro-Magnon man has now derived to an ancient Roman feast flow that adds to a spring that is of a suggestion of abundance or ease of their inception from their inauguration. To come from walking on all fours to now on twos. In the meantime, this arise that is found in the New Testament, Matthew chapter 24, verse 24, is not like the rise of Micah of the Old Testament. As Micah said in part during prophecy, that when I fall, I shall arise. That is a totally different type of arise. Now take a look at that. Go to it, Micah chapter 7 and verse 8. Let's prove it. As I remind ye of that truth. Micah chapter 7 verse 8. As I remind you of that, as I quote it in English this time, opposed to Hebrew. All right? Verse 8, rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. See, he's mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. And only Micah can tell you what that means. It's part of the subject. You look at F-A-L-L as if I fell. But Micah is telling you tonight that when I fall, I shall arise in the fall. The fall is September. It's the 15th day of the 7th month, tabernacle. That's how you would know it's Micah. Because when I fall, I shall arise in the fall. When I sit in darkness, my God, my Yudhawafe shall be a light unto me, that you see over my left shoulder to the right of the screen. As my witness, who raised me from darkness. In other words, this arise that you see here in Micah chapter 7, verse 8, in English, came from the original Hebrew word known as zara. Zara. And this Hebrew word, zarak, the zalit, the Zion, resh, kof, it means to rise, to come forth, to break out, to rise up, to shine, to rise, to come out, and to appear. Reference H 22:24, which means I was here all the time, but you couldn't see me.
God.
Praise the Lord.
Praise you.
This Hebrew word, Zadok, it also means that the soul of Micah will rise by coming forth from a place where Micah already was from his creation, from the beginning with Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. This also means that Micah will also break out of bondage of being in the dark and rise up to the light that he has become in order to shine, to rise, and to come out of her, my people, as Micah will then appear as he is, and as promised by Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. Praise Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh.
Praise Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh.
Now take a look at the last prophetical sentence. Go back now to Matthew chapter 24. And this is the beginning. As I read that again, I'm going to read that again. The last sentence of Matthew 24:24. It says again, I quote, insomuch that, comma, if it were possible, comma, they shall deceive the very elect, period, end quote. Now that my soul has explained who they are, in plural, take a look at the word possible in this prophetic promise that is found in Matthew chapter 24, verse 24. They gave power to the term, again, I quote, if it were possible, end quote. You should want to know the hidden meaning of this. Some have been reading this all of their lives. Some since 1979, when Mount Ob came and first showed this to them, until he ascended. until he was taken into custody on November 7th, 1990. You've been reading it even after that. And you have no idea what this means. Only the Christ can explain this. Let's see if we can find the Christ to explain this, okay? And let us do so. Let us start by first taking a look at this English word that is found among three others. It's known as possible. P-O-S-S-I-B-L-E, if you're writing it from left to right, spelling it. P-O-S-S-I-B-L-E. Possible. Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here's what you did not know, because you didn't study it. This English word, remember, it's an English word. It occurs only 15 times in the entire King James Version Holy Bible. 15, as in Yud-Hey.
Mm-hmm.
And each of those 15 times is in only the New Testament. Not in the Old Testament.
Wow.
Not one time does this word appear in the Old Testament of the prophets, evil prophets, so-called prophets. This means that since the English word possible, P-O-S-S-I-B-L-E, is only found in the New Testament of the King James Version Holy Bible, keep in mind, since 1611, that no one of the Old Testament is possible to deceive ye after 1611.
Right.
Which includes the soul of Micah, that goes way back before 1611. By truth, the book called Micah, that comes from the scrolls, goes back to the beginning of this world, or ever this planet was in existence. And that especially includes all of the Hebrew authors of Yudawafeh throughout the history of this world. They were authors, not prophets. There's only two prophets. They were indicted. They were indicted, which includes those that wrote on Hebrew scrolls before 1611. Which means that none of the Hebrew authors, none of them of Yudawafeh are part of this possibility to deceive the very elect of Yudawafeh, of which all of them came from the East, as many are still dwelling in the East to this day. Get it? Or did you hear what I just said? I said, the soul of Micah cannot and will not ever deceive ye or you before or after 1611. And that especially includes all of the Hebrew authors of Yudawafeh throughout the history of this world before 1611. You got to follow this now, which means that none of them is possible to deceive what's being read in red ink, red print, in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 24, as I quote, the very elect, end quote, that are all of Yudawafeh that are from the East, where Shin is from. Shin is from the East. And since Shin left the East, and now Sin is in the West with the very elect, some of them. Wow. So did their E that left the East. The vowel E, it also left the East when Shin left. Though their E was never in the East. It never was in the East. There are no vowels in Hebrew. So how could E ever leave the East? Though they left the E out. All right? Especially with every soul that was elected by Yudawafeh when they were in the East, that are now here in the West, a few of them with the soul of Micah. And since the Hebrew authors never heard of this English word known as, quote, possible, end quote, that ends with their vowel E in spelling. And this will also explain and reveal why the first deception that the false Christs and false prophets have already performed on your minds is by making you think that there is a very elect. That's the first thing that they did on your mind. They made you think that there is a very elect, opposed to allowing you to have enough erudition in your mind to realize that every child of Uluwafe is the elect. And all his elect, all of the East. Now you may be asking, wait a minute, Amika Yahweh, how did they deceive us? How did they deceive you into making you think that there was a very elect? But for those who may have had such a question, here is your answer to that question. They deceived all of ye and you by removing the E off of their word that is known to the English-speaking people and world as Every. E-V-E-R-Y. They removed their E. When they did that, they got you thinking it's a very elect. That makes you feel that you're not a part of it. And you've been thinking, you've been worried all your life. You've been worried, I wonder if I'm one of the very elect.
Right. No such thing.
No such thing. You'll hear Wafi did not single out no very elect. He chose all of his children that he elected to be their God and for them to be his children. And so much until they all have you now believing that this and there is only a very V-E-R-Y elect somewhere in the world. And you have yet to challenge them as a result of your lack of study.
Right.
To find out who is this very V-E-R-Y elect that leads some of the children of Uluwafe out of the kingdom of Uluwafe.
Wow.
And that is opposed to every E-V-E-R-Y, one that invites every child of Uluwafe to enter into the kingdom of Uluwafe. All are invited, every one of them. So, how is it possible to deceive every child that is the elect of Uluwafe to enter into the kingdom of Uluwafe? Of which some speak English Creole and French Creole and Spanish Creole, and the rest speaks Hebrew. For example, in English, the French and the Hebrew meaning of the word possible spell from left to right, P-O-S-S-I-B-L-E. It bears at least 6 meanings that are found in a particular dictionary. 6 meanings. And those 6 meanings are as follows. Number 1, possible, that can be, capable of existing. Number 2, from the word possible, that means that can be in the future, that may or may not happen. Number 3, of possible, that consists of 2 parts, which are A, that can be done, known, acquired, selected, used, etc., depending on the circumstances. For example, a possible candidate. And B, that can happen or be, which means like potential. And the 4th meaning is of possible, that may be done, like permissible. Number 5, that may be a fact or the truth. And finally, number 6, informal, that can be put with or put up with, as in being tolerable. Reference www.yourdictionary.com. Online computer software. Look it up. I gave you the website. www. World Wide Web, yourdictionary.com. And since we just proved that the false Christs or the false prophets can never arise to deceive every one of the children of evil warfare that were elected to enter into the kingdom of evil warfare, then how is that possible? How? Could never do it. Got that? In other words, however, not all are going to enter. They choose not to. Why? Because the false Christ and the false prophets are going to deceive most of them, just as they are doing today. So that in that case, your new question should be, how is it possible for anyone of the Hebrew authors and prophets, actually the Hebrew authors and prophet of the warfare that exist, how is it possible for any one of those to be capable of deceiving every elect of the warfare when by truth and by fact they get all of their prophecies from your warfare, who is not a deceiver? Think about that. Think of that. This means that since this word possible is found only in the New Testament of the King James Version Holy Bible, which bears the 25 books of their New Testament in care of the Greeks. Somebody said, oh, I got him now. He said 25 books of the New Testament. That's right. I said 25 that I thought to be 27 because you counted the books called Matthew and Revelation. And why did you do that? You should not have done that. Why? Because you don't know who the authors of those two books are.
You never knew.
Or is. Both of these books were originally handwritten by the same Hebrew author who wrote the book called Micah.
There he is.
Yeah.
Which now brings us to the second deception that they place in your dark minds as a result of not being erudite. Right? Right. How? Because the author of those three books is Hebrew from the Old Testament. And since that is true, then how could Micah have said or had written this English word known as possible?
No way. Wow.
It's another lie, a deception. He could never have said that in Matthew. He was speaking Hebrew. It's not found in the Old Testament. And that deception is being discovered tonight that was placed on the soul of Micah to make you think that Micah is a deceiver. You got it? By insinuating in the New Testament in the book called Matthew, who was authored by Micah, that they would make you think that Micah knew how possible it was to be deceived. That means they want you to think that Micah is a part of the deception because he knew the word. He did not. That was performed by the Greeks. The Greeks put that there during transliteration. And then it was followed by the theologians of Ing, the round-eyed devils. Reference Romans chapter 1, verse 25. They changed the truth of the warfare into a lie. And since that is proven, this also means that the Greeks of Rome originally used their own Greek word for possible, which is dunatos. Dunatos. And then the English came along and translated that word to their word known as possible. Possible. Nevertheless, the Greek's word, their word, donatos, it means, here's what it means. It means able, powerful, mighty, strong, mighty in wealth and influence. It also means, ready for this? Strong in soul. S-O-U-L. It also means to bear calamities, and trials with fortitude and patience.
Wow.
It also means strong in Christian virtue and to be able to do something, mighty, excelling in something, and having power for something. Reference, you can look it up. Reference G 14:15. As in Genesis chapter 14, verse 15. This means that whoever these false Christs and false prophets are in plural, that was promised by Mem, Yod, Kaf, Yudawavhe to arise during these last days that they call Jesus, will have a dunatos, a dunatos mind. They would have a dunatos mind of a Greek that's able to deceive the weak-minded of my people of Judah. This means that they, the Greeks, dunatos mind, will be powerful, so powerful enough until it would deceive the weak-minded of Judah that will listen to anything they say and believe every word they say. That means these false Christs and false prophets of Greece and of England will also teach our own people how to become false prophets and Christs. They will be mighty with their deceptions and great signs, and will use the word great in all of their sentences. They will use the word great. Like, for example, quote, "Let's make America great again," end quote. And we use words like, "These great people who died. He was a great man, but I had to fire him. This is a great day. China is great. Even with their coronavirus, they're great people. I believe it's the Democrats who started anyway."
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a bogus, it's a hoax. They, the false Christ and false prophet of the world, will be so strong with their deceptions until they will also be mighty in wealth. Mighty in wealth. Like owning their own jets and mansions in West Palm Beach, or just Palm Beach, and even own their own buildings in New York and Vegas. Even be able to buy lies. They would buy lies from the mouths of those under his helm. If you lie, I'll pay you. They will also have an influence on the weak-minded people of Judah and of Europe, who is considered strong in soul, that can bear calamities and trials of impeachment with fortitude and patience. These false Christs and false prophets will be so strong in Christian virtue and will be able to do whatever they want to do, even above the law, as a mighty man, the most powerful man in the world, excelling his lies and deception, that deceiving the whole world, having power for his position that was given to him by his own angels. And so much until, if it were possible, he will also deceive every child of Yudawavhe.
Wow.
Reference Revelation chapter 12 and verse 9. But he or they cannot ever, never do that.
No.
Praise Yudawavhe.
Praise.
So why is it so important that ye and you do not allow the false Christ and false prophets to deceive ye or you? In particular, with their false time that's governed by their false clocks and false calendars. Why is it so important? Because if you and ye do not observe the Feast of Tabernacles on the correct day, that calendar of our solar time, then your God, Yodewaf, is going to destroy your soul. Now, for those who do not believe that or are minded, turn to the book called Zechariah. You just read it earlier. Now this time you're going to read chapter 14 and read beginning at verse 1. Zechariah chapter 14. We are encouraging those who joined us on social media to read with us. Zechariah chapter 14, the whole chapter. This is the answer to why it is so important to know the correct time to observe the Feast of Tabernacles. Read that, please.
Behold, the day of Yodewabhe cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee.
Keep reading. Read the whole chapter.
For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity.
This hadn't happened yet, but it's coming.
And the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord Yodewabhe go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west.
I went over that tonight. There's a mystery. Now you've been revealed. And what?
And there shall be a great valley.
A very great valley.
A very great valley. And half of the mountain shall remove toward the north.
Whoa. And what?
And half of it toward the south.
Wow. And what else?
And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains. For the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azal.
That means we're not going to be here. Read on. What else?
Yeah. Ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of...
What? You mean, what? There was an earthquake in those days?
Of Uzziah, king of Judah.
What's going to happen after that?
And the Lord Yodewabhe, my God, shall come.
Look for him because he's coming.
And all the saints with thee.
Read on.
And it shall come to pass in that day.
What?
That the light shall not be clear nor dark.
But what? In 7.
And it shall be one day.
It shall be.
Which shall be known to Yodewabhe, not day nor night.
But what?
But it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light.
That means we start counting from sundown at evening, from sundown to sundown, as we should have been doing. Verse 8, please.
And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem.
Those living waters, you hear what I'm reading, and you are part of those living waters. Living waters, the celestial beings of such large. And what?
Half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea.
That means we're going to half and half. Some are going to go and some are going to come. And what, in summer?
In summer and in winter shall it be.
That's the spring and fall. The first of the year and the last of the year. Verse 9, please.
And Yodewabhe shall be king over all the earth.
How much of it?
Oh.
Wow. And now all of those who think,
Is that Mim or Yodewabhe?
No, that's Yodewabhe. That says Yodewabhe because when he comes.
Right.
His son's going to be with him.
Right, of course.
He will be king over all the earth. The earth is not destruction.
Right.
He'll be king over me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. All the time. Right.
And all of those, now here's the catch. Here's the promise. After the colon, what does it say?
In that day shall there be one Yodewabhe, and his name one.
No longer be divided. And no longer all these different names of God.
Right.
Verse 10, please.
All the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem.
And what else?
And it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananel unto the king's wine presses.
Now that we're building that right now. Verse 11, it's being built.
And men shall dwell in it.
What?
And there shall be no more utter destruction.
Look at the promise. Look at Shalom coming.
But Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited.
Look at what's coming. Look at the promise. You don't want to, and you do not want to enter the kingdom of Yudawah in the ever. Read verse 12, please.
And this shall be the plague.
Now see, there's a plague. You're not going to escape the plague. A plague will continue, but there'll be one plague when this happens. What's that plague? Wherewith who?
Wherewith Yodewabhe will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem.
And what plague is that going to be?
Ooh. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet.
And what?
And their eyes shall consume away in their holes. And their tongue shall consume away in their mouth.
Now, if you want to get an idea of what this looks like, then look at that scene, The Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
When Harrison Ford told, what's her name? Don't look, close your eyes. Will death angels come?
Yes.
Just what it says here, their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. And their eyes shall consume away in their holes. And their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. That's a terrible destruction of death they're going to suffer. Why? Read verse 13 as a mem.
And it shall come to pass in that day
that what?
That a great tumult from Yodewabhe shall be among them.
And what?
And they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor.
And what?
And his hand shall rise
There's
up.
Rise. See, rise up opposed to arise.
Right.
Against what?
Against the hand of his neighbor.
What's going to happen to Judah, verse 14?
And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem. And the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together.
What?
Gold and silver.
Did I tell him Fort Knox? I want Fort Knox. The gold belongs to us.
Praise Yodewabhe.
And what?
And apparel.
And what?
In great abundance.
They cannot. They can try to ignore this, but they will never avoid it. Verse 15. Yeah, now here's another plague.
And so shall be the plague of the horse.
Which what?
Of the mule. Of the camel. And of the ass. And of all the beasts that shall be in these tents. As this plague.
That means they're not going to be any more transportation. Now, what they have, there's not going to be any more cars, what they have now today. Forget it. Verse 16. Now, here is why it's so important and the purpose of this keeping up the right time of tabernacles.
And it shall come to pass.
That what?
That everyone that is left
that means some people are going to be leaving. But those are left of all what?
Of all the nations which came against Jerusalem.
Shall what?
Shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
They're going to go up to worship Yudawah.
Praise Yudawah.
And to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the tabernacle.
Verse 17, please.
And it shall be
what?
That whoso will not come up
what?
Of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, Yodewabhe of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
You know what happens when there's no rain?
Dries up.
Read verse 18. They'll thirst to death.
Yeah.
What else?
And if the family of Egypt go not up.
We hadn't forgotten Egypt. Remember what they did to my
Praise
people?
Yodewabhe.
Thousands of years ago?
And come not, that have no rain. There shall be the plague, wherewith Yodewabhe will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Look how important the Feast of Tabernacle is.
Praise Yodewabhe.
To your God, you are here.
Yes, it is.
Read the last three verses, please. 19, 20, and 21.
This shall be the punishment of Egypt.
What?
And the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Wow. Read on.
In that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto the Lord Yodewabhe. And the pots in the Lord Yodewabhe's house shall be like the bowls before the altar.
One night when we have more of our scheduled time, we go over this. Verse 21.
Yeah. Every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto Yodewabhe.
That's what we got to
of hosts.
Right. And what else?
And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them and seethe therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanites in the house of Yodewabhe of hosts.
Praise the Lord.
Praise.
No more Canaanite. Now, we revealed earlier the true time at the beginning of our session as we get ready to close. Beginning Tuesday next week, March 10th at sundown, to Wednesday, March 11th at sundown, which is the first day, will be the first day of the first 180 days of half a year, 360 perfect days. We will not, by obedience, add 5 days to their calendar. Yodewabhe, your God, made 30 days perfectly. 30 days in each of the 12 months of our solar year.
That's it.
12 times 30 is 360. A perfect circle of time. The sun is 360 degrees in diameter, such as this planet, 360 degrees in diameter. There's a reason for that. Right? Now, when we counted, as you did the other night, when I asked those who did the other day, we counted 160 days. 180 days, sorry, 180 days. And what day of the calendar did you come to?
September 6th.
September 6th. Now here's the wisdom. When you count from March 11th, you're going to come to April the 10th. That would be the first, the end of the first month. We're going to give you this as an assignment. I'm not going to do it for you or you. You're going to have to do it on your own and study. I'm giving you the foundation. You're going to count from sundown Tuesday, March 10th to sundown Wednesday, March 11th. You're going to count that as 1 day. 1 day. Then you're going to count from sundown to sundown, as you just read, from evening to evening. Until you get to 30. When you get 30, you should come somewhere around April the 10th. And you're going to continue that from sundown to sundown until you get to September 6th. That should be the first day, supposedly the first day of the 7th month. Right? However, if you count 15 days from September 6th, you are not going to get September 27th. So we're going to put 5 days on the altar of the Christ. Why? Because the devil took those 5 days off the altar and burned them up. Yeah. That's 31 days in 6 months or 7 months of the year. Right? And take away 2 days from February. That's 5 days that they stole.
Borrowed.
They stole it. They don't borrow, they thieves.
They said they borrowed it.
So what I am come to do is not only shorten those days, but I come to take those days back what the devil stole. And therefore, we're going to add those 5 days back onto September 6th. And when you count 5 days from sundown Sunday, September 6th, which is sundown Sunday to sundown Monday, 1, sundown Monday to sundown Tuesday, 2, sundown Tuesday to sundown Wednesday, 3, sundown Wednesday, sundown Thursday, 4, and sundown Thursday, sundown Friday, 5, you're going to come to September 11th, Friday, September 11th, 2020, and that would be our official first day of the 7th month.
Yes.
You got it? The first day of the 7th month. That means from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday would be 1. Sundown Saturday to sundown Sunday, 2 to 13, 3 to 14, 4 to 15, 5 to 16, 6 to 17, 7 to 18, 8 to 19, 9 to 20th, and 10 to 21st would be the Day of Atonement. The first day would be, of course, the Memorial of Blowing Trumpets. Then we have 5 days to the 21st of September. You come to 1, 22nd, sundown, 21, 22, 1, 22, 23, 2, 23, 24, 3, 24, 25, 4, 25, 26, 5, which would be at sundown, September 26th, would be the 15th day of the 7th month. All of a sudden, you're looking at September 27th, 2020, when the Christ came out of the womb. September 27th. You sneaky devils, you. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
So with that said, that should give you enough manner now and wisdom to become erudite with your mathematics to get the correct date of the Feast of Tabernacles. And we'll be observing the Feast of Tabernacles on September, at sundown, September 26th, which will be the first day. And as you read earlier tonight, we're going to go 8 days, 7 days of celebration. And on the 8th day, a day of vocation, right? A vocational day, right?
Yes, sir.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
With that said, we're going to take a moment and say toda to those who joined us. Thank you for those who joined us tonight in our Wednesday's edition of Pre-Session, number 128. If it's our odds with us, those on YouTube who watch the video, toda for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in English, toda in Hebrew. You who are on Facebook's live stream, toda, thank you for joining us tonight, as some have always done in the past. And if it is our Yahweh's will, Yahweh, we will be here again on Sunday night coming. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
And if not, we will make the announcement. We don't know yet. We don't know what this country's going to be like. But we want to say, Toda, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, stock up and prepare for what's coming. It's the worst is yet to come. And if you live in royal eras, rich places, take shelter. Coming after the rich. Whirlwinds, they call them tornadoes. Take shelter. Or come down to Miami, the safest city on the planet, Miami, Florida. Don't go to the other 8. Come to one in Florida, to the south. There are 9 states in this country that has a city of Miami in it. Come to one in Florida, the 27th state. Is that something? 27. So with that said, once again, Yahuwah Yahweh, we say that your God, Yahweh, here, Habji. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick editorial in our teleconference line. Editorial. We're going to have a Q&A session. If you have any questions, we're going to have a current events report, briefly, and a weather report, briefly. And testimony if you'd like to share or you'd like to say something, you can join us on our teleconference line. That number is 831-221-6177. Again, 831-221-6177. By the time you watch this on YouTube, we will not be on that line, but you on live stream, you're going to hang up and you can dial right away, 831-221-6177. Join us. With that said, again, I say, your Ab, your God, Yahweh, which art in heaven, who art in heaven, Yahuwah Yahweh. Judah, your God loves you. Anoki Ahab, he loves you. Ahab. And so do I. I am your servant here on earth, on this planet, with ye and with you. I say, Anoki Ahad, I love you forever and ever. Shalom Aleichem and Lala Tov. Praise Yohei Wafen. And for those who are on